This got me to thinking about our own lives. All of us have got ripped places, places where our hearts have been ripped apart, places that our minds have been in such tension, we're on the fence about this or that. We've had rips and tears in our lives, broken relationships, lost jobs, a dream that didn't pan out, torn places, and they change us. Things don't go back the way they were. But here's where it's fascinating. As much as we dread those tears in our lives, when something's ripped, that's also where the light gets in. In these torn places, that's where we often find God doing the most marvelous and miraculous work. Back on the playground and back in the ambulance, finally it was pretty cool with the sirens in the ambulance, I'm not going to lie, but we got to the ER at Children's Hospital. I was so worried about my parents' response about my torn, ripped up sweatshirt. And their response is not what I expected. When they came in, they didn't care at all about my sweatshirt. They just cared about me. They cared that I was going to be okay. God is tearing through our status quo and turning our torn places, even today, into gateways of grace. What are your torn places? Those areas where you feel life has been ripped apart. They hurt. They take us by surprise. They're jarring. And so much of the time, the world tells us to ignore and override. Just keep going. But God invites us to do something different. Instead of carrying all this tension in our body, where it builds up and it seeps into our language, where it seeps into our temperament, where it seeps into our patience or lack thereof, it even seeps into our spirit. The good news is that Jesus meets us in those torn places, and those torn places no longer have to be places of pain and failure, of guilt and shame. Because when we invite Jesus to fill the hole, instead of us trying to mend things together all on our own, if we allow God, the Holy Spirit, and Jesus' light to come into our lives, Jesus comes and fills those places, those torn places, with His love, with His grace. God tore through heaven and earth to be with us, so that nothing, no sin, no death, no height, no death, no crime, no time, no illness, no depression, no misstep, no mistake, no hurt, no pain, no nothing is stronger to stop the one who is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the one who was buried in the grave and rose again on the third day, Jesus Christ, the Son of the living God. Nothing will stop Him from being with you, from loving you, from saving you, and from walking with you from this day forward and forevermore. May the rips and the tears of your life become opportunities for God's light to shine through with something new and something beautiful. Because torn places are great places to look and see God showing up. And God has a great way of turning torn places into gateways of grace. Thanks be to God.